Ivey. And I believe Dominic is going to be up with you, so why don't you get on deck and welcome back to the committee, Delegate Ivey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the House Environment and Transportation Committee, Mr. Vice Chairman Stein, pleasure to see you, my seatmate. For the record, Delegate Julian Ivey here presenting House Bill 190, the Homeowners Extreme Weather Mitigation and Preparation Grant Program. I just want to start off initially by talking about some of the changes that need to be made to the original text of the bill, specifically where this program would be housed. So in speaking with the Department of Housing and Community Development, and also the Department of Emergency Management, it's best suited that this program run through MDEM. And so I'm looking to present that amendment. I'm not sure that DLS has it in the system yet. There's also another technical amendment from the Maryland Insurance Administration, just to get some of the terminology to be in line with insurance policy and contract language. But in short, what this legislation does, it creates a $5 million fund, grant program specifically, which would allow residents and nonprofits and some small local governments to apply for flood mitigation assistance, and specifically up to $5,000. There's a non-matching grant, and there's a matching fund grant as well, and that is dictated upon whether or not you make above a certain threshold, 80% of the median income for your county specifically. If you're below that number, you'd be able to get the full $5,000 in a non-matching application. I think we've all seen the rise of flooding here in the state of Maryland and more generally across the region and our country. I think many of us would agree that we need more opportunity to be able to provide assistance to individuals who are looking to stop water from rushing into their basements, so on and so forth. And so this legislation seeks to be that vehicle. It does allow for nonprofits to also have open applications for individuals, residents, to apply for matching funds, so on and so forth, as described specifically in the bill. This is a near and dear piece of legislation to me. Back in my hometown in Cheverly, my parents, they live on a street called Valley Way, and water rushes down from both hills into the valley. And so growing up, we had water in our basement. Fortunately, we were more than able to do some of these mitigation efforts on our own. But many individuals in my district specifically and across the state don't have $5,000 just sitting around. So I know that there are more small amendments that are possibly being offered by my dear friends at MACO. There's a letter of support from MML, which I'm very proud of as a former town councilman from the great town of Cheverly. Shout out to Ward 2. But with that, I'm here for any questions, and I ask the committee for a favorable report on House Bill 190.
Let's hear from Dominic, and then we'll go to questions.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, still work with Mako. This is a really, really good bill. So again, to go back to that housing presentation we did a few weeks ago, this bill accomplishes two of the three things. It serves to keep people in their home, and it preserves existable affordable housing stock. This is, like I said, really good common sense policy, and is part of that multiple solutions that we need to solve this problem. And counties urge a favorable report with amendments. Oh, yeah, and our amendments. So this bill only covers certain housing stock. It's not open to condominiums, apartments, et cetera. And so if we are serious about mitigation and preserving, we need to preserve those housing stocks as well. So favorable report with amendments. Thank you.
Okay. First question goes to Delegate.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And this is a great bill and really an important issue, you know, as climate change obviously is, we're going to see more and more of this. I just wanted to refer to the letter from the Department of Housing and Community Development where they I believe they said they think it would be a better fit with the Department of Emergency Management, and you don't have an issue with where it's located, is that?
No, and I think I spoke to that. That is
sorry, I
certainly a
missed that.
favorable amendment. It's something that, and God bless DLS. I think we all know that they've been putting a lot of hours in. We're just waiting on that from them.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Delegate Ivey, for bringing this bill. I agree with Delegate Ruth. This is a really good bill, very important for us to be doing this. My question is, there are some requirements for homeowners insurance in the bill to receive the grant, and my question is, would that include requiring like the flood rider that's in homeowners, or just a blanket like regular homeowners policy?
Right, that's how it was drafted and the intent of the legislation as well. Yeah.
Okay,
so
thank
I was
you.
looking to defer to DLS.
Thank
Yep,
you.
No problem.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and it's nice to see you again, Delegate Ivey. Thank you for bringing this bill. I agree with my colleagues that the intent of this legislation is really laudable and will help a lot of people. My questions are more to clear up my lack of understanding of the issue. So clarifying questions. And to follow up on Delegate Foley's question about insurance, does it matter in this legislation whether or not you purchase a home knowing it's in a floodplain? I've got a couple of questions, if that's okay.
In this legislation, it does not speak to that.
Okay, so there are federal flood insurance programs, and I guess I want to dig a little deeper into why we would not also require that for people, not everyone, but for those who know they're buying in a floodplain. Has that been considered in order to get the matching grants here?
We're certainly looking to get all the resources that we can to these individuals, but also not looking to box out individuals from this grant program due to them living in a floodplain.
Okay, so if you have homeowners insurance, and again, I'm just trying to understand, this is all new to me, and you don't have a rider for flooding,
Right.
then they pay nothing if you flood, even if you're not in a floodplain, or is that only if you are in a floodplain? Do you know the answer?
The maximum grant that you can get from this specific
I'm
program.
sorry, I meant the insurance companies.
I'm not sure.
Oh,
We'd
okay.
have to look into that.
Okay, and then where does FEMA become involved in this if there's flooding?
So this legislation speaks specifically towards extreme weather events that have taken place. There's no marker that says what is extreme. It just says that if you've had flooding in your home, that you can apply for this specific program, which would be housed in MDEM. They would set up the regulations on some of the rules regarding who specifically could get access to this grant specifically.
Thank you. I appreciate it, and I appreciate your patience as well. I was just trying to figure out if there are other entities that might also be providing assistance, especially when we're talking about whether the funding is enough here. Thank you.
No, thank you, and pleasure to see you away from Ways and Means now.
He did not mean to imply that he was happy or off of Ways and Means.
We both are no longer there. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, they're colleagues. They're past colleagues.
There we go.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you, Delegate Guyton. You asked the right question because it was a question I was going to also ask because this is an issue in my district, and I thank you for this.
Yeah.
The issue is that insurance doesn't cover it. And so I am wondering through this process, would there be some amenities to assist those in actually getting that insurance? Because regular insurance actually does not cover a lot of the damage that happens. And I only know this because a particular street in my district has flooded for probably 60 years. And insurance only covers that which comes with the house. So if you have a finished basement and the HVAC is in the basement, they'll cover the HVAC, but your furniture, your pictures, everything else is gone. So I'm wondering, would you be amenable of us potentially adding something for folks to get that additional insurance? Because it would be an additional offset to get the monies to be able to.
I would certainly support the amendment.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I want to also thank you for this as well. And I also want to acknowledge Dominic, because I know that he comes from 44, Pennsylvania, which is on the Susquehanna River.
Amen.
And has been subject to a lot of flooding over the years. And I know that the federal flood insurance was created by the congressman from up there, Dan Flood. And my question is about if you've done the research, either at MACO or you, Delegate, that possibly using this money to help pay premiums so that people can access the federal flood insurance. I think it's a variation of what Delegate Boyce is asking.
I'm certainly not going to oppose an amendment like one you're describing, but it's not in the bill as drafted.
Okay, does MACO have any?
We don't have any
Information.
research on that, but we would not be, that would
Okay,
not
we'll
change our
we'll
position.
look into it further. Thank you.
Thank you.
So this is, I haven't looked at the fiscal notes, $5 million fiscal note.
Yeah, this is a small little 5 million. So,
Really, in the scheme of things, I mean, okay, thank you very much. Any further questions for the sponsor or Dominic? Seeing none, thank you, and have a nice day.
thank you.